All right, good morning, good morning. Thank you everyone for making it out to Creative Mornings. This is our 6th event, question mark? I need to get better at counting. I'm glad you all are here, and we'll get started. My name's Luke. If you all haven't met me before, see some new faces. It's nice to meet you. I'm a designer, animator, / printmaker that lives here in Savannah, and now host and operator extraordinaire of Creative Mornings Savannah. This month's theme, global theme for Creative Mornings is Journey. I have a little thing all about it. Yeah, our theme for January is Journey. It was chosen by our Muscat chapter in Oman. I think I'm saying all that right. And illustrated by Salim Al-Salami? We're gonna go with that. As we travel through life, everyone you meet is at a different point in their own unique journey. Some of us know where we're going, while other paths are full of twists and turns and obstacles thrown in our way. The trick is to embrace the detours and delays, because there are no shortcuts on a journey of self-discovery or creative expression. But just please remember, you are not traveling alone. So that is our theme and illustration for this month. What do you think? Thanks to Adobe for being our global sponsor. They've actually helped us with a bunch of different stuff, able to get us a new video camera, which is fantastic. But for our global partnership, they're on a mission to help people everywhere imagine, create, and bring digital experiences to life. Just like our local partners, like Java Burrito. Go touch.
I can play with it.
No. Here, you can hold this. Just like our local partners, they make our global partnership possible and fuel that power us. Oh, nice. Power us as an organization. They ensure that Creative Mornings can continue to grow and thrive around the world. Got to go to the next slide, the big one.
The big one?
Yeah, the big button. Oh, we backed out. Could you hit the full screen on the thing? We're doing it really rugged today, in case you all are wondering. Okay, hold it. Don't press this button. There's a laser. Thank you. Adobe Express, everyone's favorite software. Adobe wants to help start your new year off right with Adobe Express. This quick and easy app helps empower you to create stunning social media posts, videos, images, flyers, and so much more. Take your creative journey even further with thousands of templates and one-click editing tools like removing backgrounds from videos, resizing images from different platforms, and laser in the eye. You can even schedule social media content in advance. You can get Adobe Express for free at adobeexpress.com/express. Or if you're already an Adobe Creative Cloud member, Adobe Express Platinum is included in your membership at no additional cost. Thank you, Adobe! Yeah. Woo! And thank you to Java Burrito. Can you go to the net? Press the big button. Big button. Nope.
Yeah.
That one. There. Oh, how did you do it? You did it again. We'll get to that one whenever that happens. Field trips. As well as having monthly events in person. Okay, your rights have been removed. Here, you can hold this one. Just don't drop it, please. They do online events as well. Those are called Creative Mornings Field Trips. Those are all over the world, different types of events and speakers. Sometimes there's studio walkthroughs. There's all kinds of different stuff on there. You can go to creativemornings.com/field trips to learn more about that. There is going to be a 2025 Creative Mornings Global Survey. I don't know when that's going to come out, if it hasn't come out already. We're in the middle of switching from MailChimp to an internal emailing system, so it's all a bit rocky right now. But eventually that'll come out. And it's just some kind of like information on, I think, like how you heard about it, how you like the past themes and stuff like that. Bring a friend. Probably all of you heard about Creative Mornings through word of mouth. It's how I heard about Creative Mornings, and kind of how I started Creative Mornings here was all word of mouth. So that super helps out kind of build this and grow this community. Thank you, super big thank you to our volunteers. Yay! These events wouldn't be possible without everyone's help, not only just our volunteers that are listed up here, but everybody else on pulling speakers and venues. It's really great to see everyone kind of come together and do this, because I think Savannah really needs it, so it's great. If you would like to volunteer, you can DM the Creative Mornings Instagram or Facebook, or send me an email here. That's just so I can find you and send you messages and invite you to the Slack. If you'd like to help donate anything, all that money just goes back into here, like getting video equipment. There's a QR code. There's also one on the sign-up sheet. That would be greatly appreciated, but not, not forced or anything. It's all cool. Yes, like I said, thank you to Java Burrito. They've been great for the past couple of months, providing free coffee to all of us, which has been fantastic, and they were gracious enough to let us use this space this month. If you would like to rent out this space, over there, there's a little sign with an email that you can send a message saying you would like to rent out this space for an event. I think they do all times of day, it's not just mornings. They go till pretty late at night, so that's fantastic. Creative Mornings, as a global organization, has a manifesto that we try to live by. We can all read this. No, I'm just kidding. Everyone is creative. Creative life requires bravery and action, honesty and hard work. We're here to support you, celebrate with you, and encourage you to make things that you love. We believe in the power of community. Oh, you're typing all kinds of fun things. We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connections and learning from others and hugs and high fives. We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another and inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world. The first time I heard this, they read these at every Creative Mornings, I was really touched by it, because the city that I was at, I just moved there after college, didn't really know anybody. And they do really believe that. It is cities all around the world. Everyone is creative, everyone is welcome. This month's speaker is our very own Mariah. She has been a fantastic mentor for helping me get this up and running, managing a lot of what is required for volunteers and contacts and all that stuff. So I can't say thank you enough. And super excited to hear her talk today. So give it up one more time for Mariah.
Thank you. My hair is longer now, obviously. Pre-pandemic photo. Thank you, everybody. It's so nice to see you today. I'm really excited to be here. I actually was lucky enough to start with Creative Mornings by starting a chapter in Dallas back in 2012. And so that's how I got introduced to it. And I've lived a couple other places since then. But when I heard Luke had started this up, I said, how can I help? But now I get to speak. I've never spoken at a Creative Mornings before, so very excited to be with you all today. Of course, our theme is journey today, which is kind of fitting because I actually want to talk a little bit about my creative journey. And the reason I thought it might be interesting to hear about my creative journey is because I started in a very creative family and background. But I realized through my journey that creative skills can actually be used in areas that we wouldn't think of as creative careers. And so I just wanted to shine a little bit of light on that, because the world is much bigger for creatives than we might even think a traditional creative career could look like. And so I'm going to get into that. And I started to realize that a creative career could look like a lot of different things when this guy, Lloyd Magnol, he called me one day and he said, Mariah, the doctors are designing our software application. I need you to come start a creative team for me with our software company. And it was that moment that started to shine the light on the fact that creative careers can look so vastly different. So I'm gonna get into that. But before I really start to get into where these creative skills are hidden in these different places, I figured I'd start with my kind of origin story. So My parents were both art educators, and I grew up around art studios and in classrooms and around lots of people who had what we would consider traditional fine arts and creative careers of all sorts. In fact, it was so unremarkable that when I was a kid, none of my creative things were really documented, and the stuff that my mom chose to capture were actually non-creative. Well, we're like science, like, oh look, our daughter did the science fair. We're not just like making her do art. So there wasn't a lot in my baby book, but this is kind of proof of my origin story. This is what my 5th grade class in 1992-93. So I'm 42, gives you a little bit of a foothold, but you know, so I started out in this very creative family, and so I followed a very creative traditional fine arts path, because you see, you know, my dad taught at a university, taught sculpture, and I'm like, well, I guess I'll go get a sculpture degree. You kind of do what you see. This is an example of some of the work that I started to do when I was an undergrad at College of Charleston. But the thing that I started to fall into, which deviated from what my parents did, who created fine art, and I always feel like art kind of poses questions and design addresses problems. And I found myself trying to solve problems with functional objects for people. And so, of course, eyewear kind of gets into that category of a functional object. But I didn't really realize what I was doing until later in my undergraduate degree, when I had a smart professor. And this is the power of good educators, is they can see things in people and they can shine light and say, hey, have you thought about industrial design? And I'm like, what's industrial design? And here I am, I'm almost done with my undergraduate degree. And this is during dial-up internet. So I went to the physical library and learned everything that I could about industrial design and product design at the time, and thought, gosh, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to pursue. And I ended up doing an MFA at SCAD in industrial design. Now, one of the interesting pivotal things about SCAD for me was it wasn't just about materials and engineering. It was about true problem solving and human-centered design. How do you understand a person? How do you understand what they need? And then how do you design a solution for them? And the program that I was in at SCAD, luckily, didn't just couch it in physical product development like cars and furniture. They also talked about an environment is an experience, and how do you design an environment for somebody, or a digital product, or even like a customer service experience. This is an example of a project that I worked on, which, by the way, going down memory lane and digging into like school projects from like 20 years ago is really weird. But here we are. This was a project I did for St. Joseph Candler back then, where we looked at their day surgery waiting unit to try to understand what are medical professionals doing in this space, and what do patients need in this space. And so we ended up asserting, hey, these are the different spaces that you need for these people, and this is how we think it should flow, and this is how it could look. And it really started to unlock my brain around what design is and what industrial design or design at large could be. Kristen, who's here today, I know, very old picture. We were roommates back in the day. Kristen Medine is here. She's my friend that she's been at Gulfstream for the last 17 years, post-SCAD. And she was also my model for my graduate portfolio. This is an arm sling that I designed to help reduce the stress to somebody's neck by moving kind of the placement of the strap. More traditional industrial design, true. And then this is an interesting kind of third example of how we started to tackle digital design. This is before smartphones, and so we were trying to imagine, how do we help people use public transit in a more effective way? What did we need to help enable them? And the 3 things that we set upon back in flip phone days were, it'd be great to have some kind of transit card on your phone, which didn't exist. It would be great to be able to map it. How do I get from point A to point B? Of course, that's on the phone now, but it wasn't then. And it'd be great to have some kind of social communication with other people on transit, so you felt like you were more part of a community. Now Facebook and everything is here, but that really wasn't the case. And so it was just kind of nostalgic. But I do this just to illustrate design being bigger. So as I stepped out into the job market, I did start as a traditional industrial designer, designing rolling luggage, very exciting. I was at this job for all of 15 months, mostly because I was probably a very difficult employee who had strong opinions about what human-centered design should be. And you know, it can be a rude awakening when you step from academia into the real world and go, oh, it's not done like I think it should be done. But the strong opinions I've kept with me, and they've actually served me well, because I started to move into other spaces. I went to work in 2012 for a company called, now they're called Vizient in Dallas, Texas. And we were looking at, so Vizient basically is a healthcare group purchasing organization, which means they're kind of like Costco for all the healthcare systems of America. They help get a better price on MRI machines, cotton balls, and everything in between. And they have a lot of data. And back then they put a team together, myself included, moved to Dallas for this, to go, we have all the spend data on all these healthcare systems. How can we help them provide better care? And we started looking at what's the most painful thing for hospitals and healthcare systems. And one of them is lack of medication compliance. And so we started reimagining what would it look like to help them help their patients be more compliant with their medication, which involved really trying to understand the people in the ecosystem that would be using these kind of platforms. And even imagining, I know this looks kludgy now, but back then this was cutting edge medication management platforms. And the reason I wanted to include this was we started also thinking about business models. And so it was the first time in my career I started thinking about, well, what's the finances? How does money flow behind this? How does it serve a greater group at large, and not just the design of the human-centeredness of the people that it would be touching? Back to Lloyd, you remember him from the beginning. He called me right about this time and said, the doctors are designing the app. Come, and it was my first opportunity to go build and lead a team. So I joined this company called AMC Health, and it was telemedicine and telemonitoring. There was no application. Everything was by phone. So basically they had this phone system that would call people and go, did you take your medication today? Can you report your blood pressure to us? And that's how they would gather a lot of data. And we were trying to, I actually have my slides in the wrong order. This is what the platform that the nurse looked at, that all of those, the phone things would come into. And so we were trying to redesign this. And so I needed to put together a design team to reimagine this for smartphones, because here we are in 2014, and smartphones had started to really permeate the market. And I think there was like a 60% adoption rate at that point by the population. So we thought, we really need to design for this. However, I wanted to share this with you because it was the first time in my career that I actually started to use my design skills in a way that was completely unexpected, which is, how do you design the environment, the roles, the communication flow, the goal setting? How do you provide leadership to the team and empower a team to go do this kind of design work? And this is the stuff where people say, oh, I don't want to get into leadership roles because I'm not doing my design work anymore. But for me, the experience was, I actually get to design, but I'm designing the company. I'm designing how we talk about what we're going to go work on, which was very exciting. And I put this messy chart up here. I don't know if there's software people in the room that are familiar with scaled agile framework. Yeah, I see some nods. People have feelings about this. Like, scaled agile framework is kind of a rigid framework that elicits a reaction. A lot of companies take these kind of frameworks and they try to just apply them to how people work, and it's not always a good fit. So you've got to kind of rework it yourself. The most skilled leaders will. But for me, stepping into a role where I'm doing this for the first time, it really helped me think about, what is the system design of how does the designer and the product manager and the engineers, how do they work together? How do we work with the doctors in order to be able to imagine the next generation of telemedicine and telemonitoring? And how do I work with the company? How do I work with Lloyd, the CTO, and the CEO, and our clients? So anyway, it was the tipping point for me to be able to work a level above actually being in the work. And about that time, well, I worked there and I think one other place. And then out of nowhere, I was speaking. So I'm really nerdy about this human-centered design stuff. And I was going and speaking at a conference in North Carolina, small Microsoft conference. How do you implement human-centered design teams within software companies? And this guy was speaking too, Nate Walkingshaw. And he comes up to me afterwards and he says, we're doing that. We are absolutely building human-centered design, cross-functional software teams at this company, and you should come help us. And I was living in Texas. I'm like, I'm not moving to Utah. Like, this isn't happening. And he kept calling me, and finally I'm like, okay, I'll come be nerdy. I'll come meet your team. Sounds like it'll be a fun couple of days. And I was there for 2 days, and I then had to move to Utah. So I moved to Utah for Nate, and Pluralsight was the company at the time. And it took the small thing that I worked on with AMC Health, and it really blew up my world, because here we had this product management, product design, everybody, engineering, everybody that makes the software. We had like 150 people, and we were going to scale 5 times that within a few years. How do you build structure to hire the right people to be able to put those teams together to support this human-centered activity as you're building these solutions for humans? So like employee role, team structure, goal setting, communication, practices, strategy. This is heavy design lifting. You are using the exact same skills to build the product as when you're trying to build these internal operations within a company. So an example of what that looks like, if it doesn't look like a piece of software or like an arm sling, this is what it looks like. It shows up in artifacts and practices. This is an example of how we taught our teams to do this work together. Nate had this great, he branded it as directed discovery, and it was a set of a few simple things that every single software team could implement in their way on their team, which is talking to different users, doing prototypes, getting it back in their hands, and then looking at how you look at that data on a scalable set. You would be surprised how many teams don't have these practices. And so we were determined that as we grew from 12 to 50 teams over 5 years and acquired 8 companies, we could have something simple enough that we could coach every team to, but it wasn't as rigid as scaled agile framework. So started small. This was one of my first teams here. That's me on the right. See, short hair still then. And then as you're scaling, you're also thinking about the culture of your company. It's like, how do you specifically design the culture of your company? A lot of companies say, oh, we have these values, and it's kind of like lip service in a way, without actionable ways for your management teams and individuals to think about how these behaviors show up in the work they do, in the practice. I loved participating in designing these and also helping uphold them within the company. Just for example, I loved accountable for excellence, and then we specifically said, what does it look like to be empowered in this behavior? How does that show up in work? And then if it doesn't look good, what does that look like? So we could create a lot of clarity. So for example, accountable for excellence looks like clearly communicating and proactively addressing any misunderstandings. What it doesn't look like is waiting for others to define their work and success metrics. So we really were trying to promote autonomy and ownership, because the only way human-centered design works is if people feel like they have the power to make decisions on their own, and that's what we wanted to do. Team continued to grow. That's me on the bottom right there. Of course, Utah, the beautiful Wasatch Front. I really did enjoy living there. It's a gorgeous part of the country. And then kind of last but not least, my third example is designing the vision for how you talk about where the company is going. And oh, by the way, one thing I loved is like we were allowed to print anything we wanted, and we would distribute a lot of physical objects within the company, even though we were a digital software company. And people would put these things up at their desks, and they were constantly like around and in the soup of the work. This talked about our Vision 2020, going into the year 2020. What we were going to do, you know, the mission of the company, our model, our products, our brand, our culture, our operations, trying to create as much clarity as possible so people feel like they had autonomy to do work and clarity to how it connected back to where we were going. And by this point, we had IPO'd in 2018, which means the company went public. We had acquired 8 companies and we were continuing to do company acquisitions. We had about 2,000 employees and we had 5 offices in the US, and we were starting to open some overseas offices. Oh, I forgot to mention, Pluralsight is online technology learning. So we basically build a learning platform, which is kind of almost a Netflix for engineering and data content for professionals. And we sold to companies and to individuals. And it kind of, being able to sit at this level and apply your design skills and kind of leadership and executive roles gives us some opportunities to talk to some really cool people. This guy, Jason, who was the leader of Google Cloud at the time, this is a snapshot of one of the Pluralsight conferences where we would have 15,000 customers come, and we would talk about the future of technology because our mission was to educate everybody about, I mean, through our platform, but also at this conference. So that's me sitting on stage with him, which was not intimidating at all. So very cool though. But I share all this with you today because creative careers, you can apply these skills so many different places in business. You don't have to have an MBA, you don't have to have a law degree. You can learn some of this stuff, but design, I want more designers. I want more creative people sitting in these roles, because I feel like we are better equipped sometimes to solve these problems because we're not just pattern matching something that we learned in our MBA school, but we're actually using design skills to understand and assess what is happening with the systems, with the company, with the customers, to be able to take it there. So today, I audaciously decided to start my own software company. This is my company, allborder.com. Our goal is to be able to help companies do a better job with employee onboarding so that people can quickly get up to speed in their role. And we do that by integrating with Google and Microsoft calendars and email clients to help companies create kind of a templatized, it's not education, but I guess it's your onboarding process, and get rid of all of the busy work of having to rebuild this in a calendar every time you get a bunch of people to come in and resend all the tasks. So it's just me and a couple of friends that are bootstrapping this. It's not glamorous, but it is a lot of fun. This is what it looks like today. Kristen, can you see if you can play it from there?
It said it had trouble with one piece of media. It says don't have permission.
Oh, to play it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're welcome. If I'm happy to let anybody into it if anybody wants to play with it. I was just going to do a quick show and tell, but that's fine. The real reason, so I told you what we're trying to do with it, and I'm very passionate about that topic, but the real reason I'm starting this company is my next audacious goal of applying my design skills is redesigning how you build a tech company from the ground up. Because I don't agree with the venture capital system. I don't agree with the bad behavior it causes in tech companies. And I think the money that is generated by the people that are building the software should go back into their pocket. So this is my liberal agenda of tech companies. But I believe there's a better way, and I think that you can build things at a pace that makes more sense for people's lives and feels better, and you can do these human-centered design aspects and create great value for people with a lot of longevity within a company. I think the biggest shame is that the average tech tenure within a company is 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years. It takes 6 months to get up to speed. I mean, there's just a lot that goes into learning about the role that you're stepping into, and the fact most companies are only getting, you lose so much thought, leadership, and knowledge when people are spending such short periods of time. And it's because tech is so volatile and it's high stress, and it's caused by the venture capital, because people that are coming and investing in these companies, they want their money back 3-fold, 5-fold, 10-fold, and we're burning people out. And it doesn't have to be that way, because I think that people in tech are very creative and they enjoy what they do, but you can't do it under certain environments. So my audacious goal is redesigning how you even create a company structure like this. So if anybody has any ideas about co-op-based kind of tech companies, I'm all ears, because that's what I'm trying to do. So if I can hit product market fit, I can focus on how do we create this model. But anyway, so that's all I got, my big audacious idea. But I don't. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I love what you're doing with your business. When I lived in New York, I was a part of the New York Tech Meetup, so I actually met some of these people, like, you know, the guy that started Dodgeball, and people started Tumblr like about 10, 15 years ago. Now I work as a server in a restaurant here. Anyway, I am curious for on All Border, how big or how small could a company use your services? Because I feel like HR has been something that has been what companies spend the least amount of money on, but it's super important. So I'm just curious, like,
yeah,
how small or how, you know?
Based on the current, what we currently have, like if I were to go talk to a company today, I think we probably best fit companies under 5,000 people, because over 5,000 you get into a lot of integrations and enterprise software stuff that we just don't have yet. However, if a company was interested in it, we could probably build what they needed, because we're still trying to get people in. But just out of the box right now, I think it's that. And it could be companies as small as, 10 people.
Okay,
it's very user-friendly, yeah. So all is, 10 to 5,000 is probably our sweet spot. Once you get into kind of the enterprise space, we will probably need more. But yeah, good question. Yes. Oh, sorry, behind Christian. And then you, Christian.
Thanks, Mariah. Asking for a friend, when you start to get burnt out in product management, how did you I'm a product manager who has a background in film studies actually, but like I feel like you lose some of that like creativity in your day-to-day, so I'd love to just hear your thoughts of like when you're getting burnt out in like feasibility or budget or these other elements of product management, how you kind of brought it back to the creativity.
Oh man, we don't have enough time. It's a good question, and I do see a lot of that burnout. I myself suffered from it. Full disclosure, the last company that I left before I started this, I was so burnout, and here I am, not quite. I guess I left them September 30th, 2022, and it took me a good 6 months to just decompress. And a lot of people don't have the luxury to take time because we're trying to finance our lives with the jobs that we do. I also am a passionate personal finance person, so if anybody wants to talk like how do you maximize your money so you can do what you want with your life, that's another topic I love. But I think recognizing that you are feeling a certain way, I was in full denial. I'm like, tech, grind, keep going, like push harder, you can do more. And it didn't help that all my colleagues were guys that had stay-at-home wives. And here I am trying to do all the things. I ignored that for a long time because I just didn't feel like there were other options. If you can do anything to walk back and make more space in your life to breathe, that is a start, I think. Taking sabbaticals I have seen as a thing that people are doing now, and I really applaud that, and I see it on people's LinkedIn profiles. And then I always tried to spend a lot of time with meetups and in the community, because this is where I was filling my cup a lot. So like when I was in Utah, for example, I was part of Ladies That UX. I started the chapter there. I started Product Hive, which was a 501c3 geared towards product people to try to help, bring along the next group of people. And that filled my cup, but it's a really tough problem, and I feel like it's a systemic one that's difficult for individuals to address, which is why I'm passionate about like how can we change this environment, because I don't like short of that there's not, as we have a short continuum of what we can do, I think. But yeah, good question. Christian.
Yeah, so it sounded like a lot of what you were talking about was kind of couched in human-centered design as a backdrop.
Yeah.
And for like somebody like me who didn't go through design school and then discovered human-centered design on a systems level, I'm like, oh shoot, maybe I'm a designer. And nobody ever told me. And so I'm on this journey of trying to learn human-centered design, and I have a lot of theory that I've ingested, but applying it into the real world, outside of being able to go to a design school or working for a tech company, what are some practical ways that you can get your hands into human-centered design on a real level?
So we live in an era where it's so easy to find resources, books, online articles, people write blogs, they do Instagram reels, like just search, crawling the internet to see the different flavors of it. So that's one way. Another is coming to events and meeting people that work in those fields that can then provide another layer of context. Because one of the things that you don't get with searching the internet is structured curriculum. So like when you go to a college, they have, here, you gotta learn all these things, and it starts to flesh out all the puzzle pieces. That's harder to do on your own, but it's still possible. The guy, Nate Walkingshaw, this will give you some hope. Nate, who brought me to Utah, he liked me because I had an academic background. He didn't graduate college. So he learned all this human-centered design on his own, working in what he was working in. He started out as a paramedic who then wanted to design a better crash cart because he was struggling with these physical products as the paramedic user. And he went down this path of product design purely to start helping his own industry. And he's now running an energy company. Like, it's crazy, this big energy company for like battery backup, home and business energy. And so you can definitely learn it. I would encourage you to keep going with pursuing stuff online and looking at it. And sometimes it can be useful to take a peek at college curriculums, which are often published online, and see what kind of books they're promoting to their students. But I think we can do a lot of self-learning. And I'm happy to recommend a couple books too and things if you're like, Mariah, what about this area or what about that area? Always happy to be a resource.
I have a resource too I can share. So hi, good morning, I'm Alex. This is my first Creative Mornings Savannah, but I am hailing from Charleston originally, so go Cougs. And I have volunteered and run startup organizations in Charleston, and as far as like an applicable experience, there's a company called Techstars. So I've worked with them for several years in different capacities. But I started as a volunteer for Startup Weekend. So they have virtual events all over the world and all throughout the year. We had one in Charleston. I don't think it's run in a few years, but the organizer from Startup Weekend, he lives in Vancouver now, so he was hosting them. I don't know when the next one is, but the purpose of Startup Weekend is for anyone who's interested in like building a company. You get a ticket, you come together, and you literally build a startup idea from scratch. So you can't bring in an idea that you're already working on because that will, be exploitative of people's time and abilities. But you really go through the process of identifying a problem and creating a solution. And the goal for the weekend is to like build some sort of MVP. So you'll have developers, designers, or ops people. So it's a really fun thing to do. I've participated in a few, but I was very nervous to go in by myself as an attendee, so I volunteered because that was just like an easier barrier of entry for me because I'm quite introverted. But really fun, I do recommend. But Creative Mornings, I have a question behind all of this too. Yeah, you're so welcome. I wish I knew when the next one was, but I'm not too sure. But like I said, it's very easy to find and get involved, much like Creative Mornings website, they'll just list out all the events that you can look at. But I was curious about your new company. Are you focused on any specific industry? Because in my work with Techstars, some of the companies that we've been supporting along the way have been really focused on the healthcare industry and trying to address accessibility issues for patients. Because we have literacy issues, language barriers, so we have a lot of technology that's developed, but it's not necessarily the most accessible for people who just come from different walks of life. So I don't know if
I think that we cater more towards, when you look at onboarding needs, when you're bringing in a new employee, if it's an employee like a retail or restaurant employee, this probably isn't going to be as useful because they don't spend their day on computers and they're not in virtual meetings, which this really caters to. They're doing a lot of hands-on training, so this is less useful. Not that it couldn't be used for some of the HR to-dos, send people things to do, but this is probably going to be better geared towards people where onboarding takes longer. There's a lot of knowledge and information that is shared on a computer in order to help get somebody up to speed in a job. Now, I'm gonna, you know the phrase that when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail? Well, my hammer is the fact I come from these tech companies. So I'm kind of have those blinders on when it comes to designing this. But as I've looked at product market fit across who could we serve, it is really more of the knowledge workers that have that more sequential on a calendar onboarding, or HR companies that really do, HR groups within companies that also do like really good company orientations. So I think that's probably it. Yeah, it's really based on that more so than even industry. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Yes.
I was curious about like some of the earlier stages of your career. I'm about to finish my BFA, so it seems like a creative career is like a huge commitment, which I think most of us know. But how many like different roles do you feel like you had to work through before you kind of found maybe what's your thing, or is it always evolving? And like, did you take some time between like your studio or undergrad before your master's, or did you go straight into that?
So it's always evolving. I think that there's no way to know where a career is going to go at the end. Like, the life is a journey really applies. Every new job you go to or experience you have opens the door to new information for something else that might light your brain up. And also, I think that a lot of people in creative careers, or even non-creative careers, you don't necessarily want to relive the same year of your career over and over and over. So I think it's the journey option. I also was deeply committed to like being opportunistic and job hopping. If there was a better opportunity, business is business, and I would go. And so if you look at my LinkedIn profile, it's like a laundry list of things. And each of those provided more. Also, staying in a place for a long time, also there is joy in that too. So like when I was at Pluralsight, I was there for almost 5 years, which doesn't sound like a long time, but in tech years was a lot. There was a lot of joy there too. So anyway, but I had a lot of growth in that role. Your second question, I did not take any time in between because I was broke. And when I was in grad school, I was working full-time at Georgia Regional Hospital, which is the state psychiatric hospital here in Savannah, as their director of communications while I was doing my MFA in industrial design. I had no money, so I was trying to finance it. Kristen can attest to my wacky schedule, and it took me 5 years to get that degree done. I just couldn't, there was no, I would have loved to. I would have loved not to have worked during my graduate degree and really had focused on that, but we take the opportunities that we can in between. And I was very solidly knew I wanted to do industrial design when I was almost done with my undergraduate degree. I just didn't discover it soon enough. And it seemed like the most interesting path, so I'm like, I'm gonna figure out how to go make this work. But part of my undergraduate degree I did a minor in arts management, which was a wonderful nonprofit business degree minor to have, which got me into the state psychiatric hospital running their volunteer services and communications. So everything has these weird connections. So yeah, you guys just got the 20-minute version of this, but I've had a very weird career. Oh, can I call on a new person real quick?
I was a software designer in healthcare, and I was essentially working on a program that was going to replace designers because of AI. And so I wanted to know what your thoughts were on like the impact of AI and like will designers essentially have to be prompt engineers in the future, or will designers have like some role?
So I can tell you that right now I use AI to help do a lot of the heavy lifting that I would have to do. So for example, if you're doing ethnographic interviews and you have hours and hours and hours, tens of hours of transcripts, and you're trying to synthesize information, the AI is really great at that, but their insights aren't always spot on. And so you have to reconcile a lot still. And I believe we will probably be in that reconciliation for quite a while because AI hallucinates and they can't figure out how to fix it. So it's an interesting tool, and I think what AI is doing is it's replacing a lot of the busy work and allows us to be more creative because we can move through information faster, which is great. I don't believe that AI will replace like design with a big D. I think humans still need to do that, but I think it's a good partner for us to bounce ideas off of. And even the engineers that I work with, people that have been working in software for 10, 20 years are like, it gives me access to be able to work more fearlessly in other languages that I'm not in every day, and be able to work in back end where I'm more strong in front end, and they can pair program with AI. So it makes, but it requires them to at least have the base knowledge to know how to answer the right questions and understand if they're getting junk information. So I feel like that's where we are right now. I don't know where it'll go, but honestly, design with a big D might be the only thing left after AI takes over all the menial tasks. But I welcome that, because I don't know about you, but going back through interviews that I've done to scrub for stuff can be a bit tedious in cycles. So, yeah.
One more question?
Oh.
Well, we have time afterwards to talk.
Any new person last question? All right, Alex, you're up. Oh, wait, no, we got somebody in the back. Sorry, you've been sniped. Oh, it's not. You know what I can do is record a little demo video, and I don't.
Yeah, I can send it out with the newsletter.
Yeah, we can figure out how to get it out to everybody. You can also reach out to me directly. I'm happy to give you a personal demo if you're curious to see it. It is an interesting kind of tool that I haven't seen anybody else build a tool that allows you to templatize stuff and send like we've done. So it's kind of a new paradigm. But yeah, what's your name?
Oh, sorry. My name's Kelly. I'm
Kelly.
a people officer at Focus Lab. So I'm a people operator.
Yes, let's talk. I want to show you all the things, Kelly. It's nice to meet you. Yeah.
All right, I think it's going to do it for us. Thank you, Mariah.